On the line with us, our buddy Phil Ittner, the veteran war correspondent based out of Kyiv, Ukraine, host of the brilliant On the Edge podcast, his video blog over on Twitter, on YouTube. Philip Ittner, Philip, Ittner Philip. The reverse of that is his handle on Blue Sky and Twitter. And Phil, welcome back to the program. How are you doing, and how is Kyiv? How is Ukraine this week?
Well, I mean, we're still getting hit harder than usual as the world's attention has been pulled away from this place because of the Iran-Israel conflict, and of course, the NATO conference. But we continue to get air raid sirens daily. Monday of this week, Sunday into Monday. We were under massive attack. They have been hitting around the country with very little attention from the international community because, the sad reality. Yeah, the sad reality is that there's other news. There are other shiny keys that will be dangled in front of the world's attention, and Ukraine has gotten to a point where even while people are being killed in transit trains, don't even come close to getting a headline. Wow.
Now I understand that there's a potential debt crisis in Moscow. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard a bit of this, yes. We shall see. I am always skeptical and cautious when we talk about Russian economic, coming to a cliff, because that's Putin and his government have been able to manipulate their economy quite well. The sanctions are not being fully implemented, so they have a number of different ways of circumventing the sanctions. So I'm always of the mind when there is speculation that the Russian economy is just on the verge of collapse to say, I'll believe it when I see it. Not to say that I am skeptical that is going to happen. I do believe 100% that it will happen. I don't know when that will be, and none of us do, frankly. Yeah. Economists can speculate all they want, and Kremlin watchers can speculate all they want. God knows I'm one of them. But at the end of the day, the reality will be the thing that dictates what happens.
But apparently Putin's paying for his war with debt, right?
Oh, yeah, no, he's been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
And and also the entire economy has been built upon a war footing. So the GDP in Russia is based on the war economy. It is, you're making munitions, you're making strategically important industries. They are getting bolstered. But how long can that continue with the economy as it is, with taxation and the real GDP? Because you also have to understand that Russia's GDP is not actually known because they operate in a gray economy, not a black economy, not an open economy, a gray economy. They manipulate figures. They are in a kleptocracy, so they can always change the figures and the facts. When it happens, we will see it. We will know it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's imminent. I've had it, said to me that it's imminent in the past, and that has yet to come to fruition. But eventually, they cannot continue to do this. So it's at one point, yes, they're going to crack.
Yeah, I totally get it. And speaking of gray economies, I heard this morning on NPR that 18% of the world's oil shipments right now are Iranian and Russian oil that is supposed to be embargoed, but they're running it through this fleet of ships.
The Shadow Fleet.
The Shadow Fleet. Yeah, tell us about that. And why is the world not doing anything about this?
Well, they should be, but they are addicted to fossil fuels, and the web that it surrounds that industry. I mean, even to the point of, we apparently just this week had 2 Russian tankers, or tankers flying under a different flag but coming from Russian ports, filled with fossil fuels, being escorted through the English Channel by a Russian warship, and the British didn't do anything about it because, that's not me being hypercritical of the British, because what are they going to do? But it is a clear indication that Russia continues to circumvent the sanctions, and they are still able to get an awful lot of money from some very shady deals with the Shadow Fleet, with their sales to countries that don't necessarily care.
Yeah, it seems
about
like most of this is
breaching
going
sanctions.
to Russia and India, isn't it?
India and China are primarily
China and India.
India and China are primarily the benefactors of the Russians circumventing the oil industry. And that is why it's been so disturbing to see actually the bill that was put forward in the Senate, and still is there to my understanding, that would punish third country parties that benefited from the sale of sanctioned Russian fossil fuels. And that seems to be right now in a bit of a limbo. It's Blumenchuck and Lindsey Graham, who put that, and it's just in a bit of limbo. But we need to do that. We need to crack down on their shadow fleet, because until you make the cost of this war unbearable for Russia, they'll keep doing it. And they've made that perfectly clear.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, on NPR this morning, they said basically no country is willing to confront Russia over this and seize a ship, that would create an international incident that everybody's afraid to lead to war. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Meanwhile, Trump yesterday or day before yesterday, whichever day it was.
Daddy Trump.
When he was at NATO, he was asked by a Ukrainian journalist who told him how her husband is, in Ukraine and fighting the war and all that kind of stuff. She asked if he would sell Patriot missiles. Of course, Europe gave Ukraine $15 billion to buy Patriot anti-aircraft missiles from the United States. So far, Trump has refused to sell them to Ukraine, as much as he likes to brag about, I cut a deal and I brought money back to America. Any progress on this? I haven't heard anything. I'm guessing it was just more BS.
He said after apparently about a 50-minute meeting as a bilateral meeting along the NATO conference with Zelensky, he came out of that and he said that they would be open to the idea of selling more or providing, I suspect, if it being Trump, it would ultimately be a sale. Patriot missile systems, which we desperately need. Yeah. We desperately need air defense. We have been, while the world has been preoccupied with this Mishigas in the Holy Land, in Israel and Iran, the 12-day war. Meanwhile, we have been getting pummeled here. And I very much doubt, Tom, that this has been on any front page headline of any newspaper in the world, in America. We have been getting absolutely pummeled. On Sunday going into 2 weeks, so 2 weeks ago we had a really bad attack. This last week, Sunday going into Monday, we had drones, Shahad drones. I could hear them in my apartment, and I live in downtown Kiev, which of all places in this country should be the most fortified air defense location in the country, and I heard Shaheeds, the Iranian-based drone that Russia employs here, off my balcony.
Wow.
And explosions and aircraft, anti-aircraft munitions going up into the sky.
I'm seeing a reporting that Russia has launched over 28,000 of these Iranian drones.
Oh, it's been insane.
Are they slowing down
insane.
now that Iran has been kind of bogged down with Israel?
Okay. No, because the Russians have actually taken the technology and they have their own factory outside of Rostov. They have another factory that, just incidentally, and not to go too deeply into it, but they also just hit a drone factory in a place called Taganrog, and that was really significant. I mean, the Ukrainians continue to actually be militarily very successful.
Mm-hmm. You mean the Ukrainians just struck a Russian drone factory?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but they have a stockpile of these Shaheeds, and they have a factory outside of Rostov where they produce them, which probably has very intense air defense. So I don't think the Ukrainians are going to try and do it with a drone or anything. They might do it with sabotage. Yeah. But we have had these drones flying into Kiev for the last 2 weeks. Ever since Operation Spiderweb, this Ukrainian operation which stunned the world, and we need Patriot missiles. So if somehow Zelensky was able to, stroke Trump's ego and get Patriots, I don't care.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
I live in Kiev. I live in Kiev.
Yeah,
I live in Kiev. I just want Patriots.
Yeah, I get it.
I want them desperately.
Yeah, and apparently the NATO guys figured this out because they all were stroking his ego, and suddenly he's, okay, I like NATO now. The guy behaves like a 7-year-old. It's amazing.